Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time, my name is Amparo, and today we are going to be talking about characters. Not just characters in general, but what makes a character deep, or what gives a character depth. So when I was in college, we won't say how long ago that was, I studied for my comprehensive exams, which are, I'm sure you know what they are, but they're just tests that you take right before you graduate, or actually right before you start your thesis if it's a master's program. So in my case, I was going to be doing my master's on Emily Bronte's work, and my comprehensive exams were all about the Victorian age. There are people who love to discover characters while they're actually writing. They're what is known as discovery writers, but in my case, whether it's graphic novels, short story comics, or full-length novels, I like to know who I'm following. If I don't know the entire cast of characters, that's fine, but I need to know who my main character is and what they're trying to accomplish in life. So I discovered something during my comp exam study sessions. The process itself was rigorous and annoying, but I did discover something called psychographics. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, I think not, but whatever, we're gonna flow with it. We're gonna go with it. Psychographics, according to the Free Dictionary, are the use of demographics to study and measure attitudes, values, lifestyles, and opinions. So psychographics in general are going to be used to tell us or describe how people behave and who they are. So I wanted to use that, but as an author. So when we're considering psychographics, I think it's important to note those 4 elements that I mentioned previously, the first one being attitudes. Today we're going to be talking about attitudes and how we can help develop them to give our characters greater depth. We find the following definitions for the word attitude: a position assumed for a specific purpose, a mental position with regard to a fact or state, a feeling or emotion toward a fact or state, a negative or hostile state of mind, a cool, cocky, defiant, or arrogant manner. So as you can see, attitude is not one-dimensional. It encompasses 3 key traits: psychological state, emotional state, and physical state. Within the psychological state, we have the following things to consider. What does my character love? What does my character hate? What does my character find irrelevant enough to not care about at all? So in simple terms, you need a reaction. Your character needs to react in a very clear, obvious way towards the things they hate and towards the things they love. And if you can show them actually reacting in a negative or positive way, that's actually stronger than if you just tell us, oh, my main character or I love pizza. Well, that's great. Is that driving the plot forward? Are we moving towards something that involves pizza in a great way? Is it adding to the character? Is it adding to the story? Or is it just something cool that you mention in passing, but like at the same time a lot of people love pizza, so I'm not understanding why that specific detail is actually worthy of sharing? So a reaction needs to be drawn, right? But what happens in the emotional state? Within the emotional state, these are some questions that you can ask yourself regarding your character. Why does my character love or hate what they love or hate? And why does my character find those irrelevant things irrelevant? So this is where you get to the root of it all, right? Everything around them informs them. So how do we get to the point where they love or hate or find irrelevant certain things? What are they passionate about loving? What are they passionate about hating or disliking? And what means absolutely nothing to them will be informed by how... Is that a rooster? I'm so sorry, there's a rooster somewhere nearby and they say, not today. So if in step 1, when we're talking about the things that your main character loves and hates and finds irrelevant, what is behind all of that? The meaning behind those reactions or those attitudes. Behind those attitudes is going to give us a better sense, a stronger sense of how well you know your character and why should we follow them throughout this entire journey that we're about to embark on. Past experiences help mold these fake people or characters into who they eventually become at the start of your story. And we need to know how those past experiences have molded them into these people, because every choice they make will be informed by the choices they made before the story starts. Now, within the physical state, these are the things that you should be looking for, the things that you should be asking yourself. How does my character let other characters know what they love? How do they know, or how do they let other characters know what they hate? And how do they let others know that something is irrelevant to them? Here is where showing is also important, because it's not just about taking that slice of pizza and eating it and just savoring it and letting others see how much your character enjoys pizza, which that is an intellectual thing to do. However, if you just do that constantly, the attitude, or those attitudes that you're trying to make your reader know for sure, they might lose their impact, because you're doing the same thing over and over again, and it's just not surprising, it's not engaging. It just becomes like something that they expect, but not in an exciting way. One way that you can show this, like how does your character show that they love, hate, or find something irrelevant? Dialogue is one of my favorite ways, because yes, you're telling, but through dialogue, your character is moving or not moving at all. Their face looks a certain way. They might do something involuntarily. And those involuntary movements, or those very much self-aware choices that they make with their body, all of those things inform what they're saying. They could contradict themselves by doing something with their face while they're saying something else. They could be positive in their way of expressing themselves verbally, but negative in how they're actually reacting to what is being said or done around them or to them. Also very important, I think dialogue is a great way of helping yourself as an author, as a writer, really explore your character's attitude, because that other person that they're speaking with is going to probably be their opposite in the sense of attitudes towards the thing that they either love, hate, or feel indifferent towards. Not all characters show what means to them or what means something to them in the same way. So maybe your character loves pizza and you want to show that because it's important somehow. Maybe pizza is integral to your plot, which if it is, I need to read that book. I think the key in terms of how to show this via dialogue is that the past experiences of your character need to be informing their choices and how they feel towards things or how they feel about things, but also the person that they're talking to or the people that they're talking to should stand in direct opposition somehow. It doesn't have to be, oh, we're gonna argue right now, or we're gonna engage in combat and draw your weapons, it's on, it's not like that. It doesn't have to be like that. So what is their emotional state, what is their physical state, and what is their psychological state? It's going to depend on past experiences, but it's also going to depend on who is standing in the way of them now. And why are they standing in the way of that now? Character depth, if added through attitudes, if explored further through attitudes, I feel like you need to understand if your character is the type of person who would react negatively to someone reacting negatively to what they love. Would they talk back to them? Would they insult them? Would they sour up their expression with sour and would not even give them the time of day, would turn their back on them or glare at them? Those things tell us a lot about your character, and maybe even if they're unlikable characters, that's actually a better way of showing us why we should care, because if we don't like them and we still have to follow them through 300 plus pages worth of book, why should we do that? An example of how we can draw up these attitudes in a character in ways that show them being in direct opposition to another is one of my favorite examples of all time is, of course, Katniss and Peeta. I don't know why I'm clapping. Anyway, Katniss and Peeta are very different. Of course, I'm talking about Katniss and Peeta from The Hunger Games, if you didn't know that already, which I think you did. Anyway, Katniss is colder in treatment towards others compared to Peeta, who is warmer because he just feels like, at the beginning of the story, he is a more hopeful, more idealized version of what a human being in this hopeless, barren land is supposed to be, and Katniss is very much a survivor, and she does it in a practical, methodical, let's, get to work kind of way. And Peeta is more of like a, yes, we will get to work, but it's, did you see that pretty flower in the corner? And she's just gonna be like, oh my god, I hate flowers now. Just because you said it, I hate them now. Katniss, as I said, is not the type of person who is going to be super sociable and like charming, but Peeta is. And when you look at their backstories, there's some dissonance there, because even though they've both suffered, they have not suffered in the same way, and they have not experienced loss in the same way or to the same degree. And I feel like the more we study Peeta and the better we get to know him, we see a tragic hero. Someone who is not going to just charge into battle with weapons drawn and just ready to like save his damsel, because he is essentially the damsel. And Katniss is the more heroic in a traditional sense, the more heroic figure in a traditional sense, because she is trying to survive and trying to protect her sister, her mother. Although her mother's relationship with her is quite difficult, she does care about her family. And to some degree, she does care about Peeta as a person, in the sense that, oh, this is that boy who gave me bread that one time. How sweet of him. I don't really care about him, but I think that was nice of him. Thank you so much, bread boy. Does your character have a Peeta or a Katniss that can be their direct opposition, but at the same time complement them and like get to, or they can help the reader get to know them better, because they are so different and also so similar at the same time? Because Peeta and Katniss are both trying to outlive everyone else in the games. Why did I say cup? Anyway, I'm confusing my books right now. It's fine. I'm fine. It's not like it's the end of the world. Psychological state, emotional state, and physical state. All three of those can help you accomplish greater depth when it comes to creating characters. And don't worry if you're just sitting down to explore who your character is and you have no idea what they love, what they hate, and what they feel indifferent towards. This is fine. If you're an exploratory writer, then just draft and get to know them better. And remember, you might think your character is one person and they might love something and they might hate something, but then all of a sudden you realize you were completely wrong and they have led you towards a completely different path. That's amazing. And you should, keep in mind that writing is rewriting. You are always going to be exploring something new about your characters and about yourself. So there you have it. Attitudes. Give your fake people some. I hope to explore more about character depth with you in the coming weeks, because I've noticed that characters are the most important and the most difficult for a lot of people who are trying to write or finish their books. World building, they can come up with rules, they can come up with settings and scenarios and all sorts of really awesome things about their world, but sometimes the characters themselves are the biggest hurdle to get through. I just wanted to start with some character study stuff, and hopefully down the line I will be adding more to this specific topic. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will be seeing you next week. Hopefully next week. Yeah. 2021, please do not disappoint me. Stay awesome, everyone. Bye!